veins, I've been driving this train. Years in this lane, there's no stopping this flame. Cause I came to the game and I changed it to play how I like, rearranged it to my own domain. Yeah, I got what it takes, made lots of mistakes, taking shots, skipping breaks, feeling lost, feeling great, popping off, singing straight, never stopped, never changed. All the squad here to play, and I've got something to say, yeah. I work hard each and every day, I get lost in the words I say. I don't push pause, no I push play. I won't stop till I make a change. I withdraw on the things I make. I turn flaws into flawless traits. I build tall, never capped in space. I won't stop till I hear him say,
all right, thank you for joining in today for this live stream. My name is Mfon Akpan, and I am the professor. I am an actual accounting professor, and I decided to change things up a little bit and have a live stream today during the week. And I think that's important to change things up, to test things out, to see how things work. And this will also be a bonus content and audio on the podcast. So for those of you who are watching live, thank you. For those of you who listen to the replay and listen to the audio on the podcast, thank you in advance. To the podcast listeners, I recommend you go to YouTube so you can see the full, you can watch the video, and you can watch other content that is posted on the YouTube channel, and you have access to all of that for free. And before I get going on today's topic, wanted to give a shout out to Underdog Crypto. Make sure to check out his channel and the work he's doing on the public service loan forgiveness programs. A lot of great things. You can check him out on Underdog Crypto on YouTube and Underdog Research, Black Room. But wish him well, and make sure to follow him. There is a link. Well, you'll see a posting in my posts. I'll have a post that'll come out with a link to his channel. We'll be working on something there as well to share with him. I like the comments. I love that comment. Also wanted to give a shout out to Matt Hadouken, who will be coming back, and Cobb's Capital. That crew will be coming back as well to really, I think it's important we get different perspectives and we talk about things from different lenses, so we get different ideas. And some new friends that I have is Simulation Nation, really focused on VR, and they do something very interesting. So I recommend checking out their channel on YouTube, where they do actual interviews in alt space VR, so in virtual reality. So you go in, you're a guest, and you have your interview and your talk in virtual reality. So today's topic, and this was something I was having a discussion with several people earlier in the week, and we were talking about the blockchain and just the future of digital culture. And when we think about digital culture, it can be defined as how technology and the internet is shaping the way that we interact with each other. So how we connect with each other. And if you think about the internet, and you think about social media, and you think about how all of this is tied together. So a lot of our connections and communications are done via social media, online, of course, online, but through social media. And as we move more and more into the metaverse. So when we talk about the metaverse, and I had some great comments on the metaverse saying, well, it doesn't exist yet. Well, one key thing is depends on how you define the metaverse. If you define the metaverse as the internet being in a virtual world, right? No, it doesn't exist yet. So we're not all going and connecting in the metaverse. But are there stages? So one thing to think about, these things develop in stages. So are there virtual worlds? Do we have spaces that we can go to? Yes. So, and when you think about that, how does this tie into how we connect with each other? And how does this tie in with the blockchain? And what the conversation, actually, this conversation, I got to give a shout out before I forget. I was on the Professor Game podcast. The Professor Game podcast. You take a look. It's a podcast on gamification, and it's located in Madrid, Spain. So I was interviewed on the Professor Game podcast, and we were talking about this. And what you're seeing right now, when you think about the metaverse, and in the definition I'm using are virtual worlds. So when you think about these virtual worlds, you have different platforms which have different business models, and you'll see that there are business models that are tied to the blockchain. So what do I mean by that? So if you go on one end of the spectrum, you've got Verbella Frames, right? Or FrameVR.io, which is their educational platform. You have their enterprise platform, which is Verbella, and then Verbella Frames, where you go in, there's virtual worlds. It's designed for you to actually connect, have experiences, and really it's a combination of PowerPoint and Zoom in a metaverse setup in that platform. Then you've got spatial. And now this is where things get interesting and we talk about blockchain. Spatial, you have that meeting component, so an enterprise component or education component where you can get together, you can have teams meeting, you have these brainstorming environments that you can go to. And then on the flip side, you can travel to different worlds where you can purchase NFTs. So you can make purchases. So this is where the blockchain part comes in. Then when you think about on another end of the spectrum, when we talk about these virtual worlds, you've got Decentraland, and which has its own currency. You go into this world, you can buy actual property, advertise in this world. You've got the sandbox where you can really do the same thing, buy land, lease spaces. So you have more of a commerce aspect to it, and that's all tied to the blockchain. So one thing, and I think this is important for us to understand, is that we're so used to things happening so quickly, and we've got to realize things evolve over time. So I think when we think about the metaverse, we think about the internet, we think about digital culture, it didn't just happen. And I think for those of us who, who are born into, so Gen Z, Generation Alpha, who are born into the internet, it just is. So social media, it just is. But for those of us who were, born and grew up as this all developed, we can see it's a transformation. So it's a movement, and it's really a merger between the tangible and the intangible. So the hardware, right? And you've got the software that ties all of this together. What do I mean by that? Well, let's take a step back and think about the internet. So if you go back and think about dial-up, So the phone lines, people would access the internet through their phone lines and through a PC or maybe some type of laptop. So you would dial up. There wasn't this smartphone access. And then slowly there was an evolution and a movement in using the smartphone. So now you've got, and it evolved to the point where the access to this, or the connection, moved from one hardware to another. So from the desktop computer to smartphone. Still not complete, like 100% adoption. It's over 50% of people getting on their smartphones and accessing the internet, but there was an evolution. Then what are people accessing? So then you think about, okay, things moved from communicating, through email and through text, and now you've got people message each other through social media apps or applications. So there's the point of this is there's a transformation. So then when you think about we talk about the digital culture, we talk about blockchain, we talk about the metaverse. You think about when we're talking about dial-up, Bitcoin didn't exist. Now we have all of these technologies, and they're being integrated slowly but surely. And then you have the hardware piece. And I think I was talking the other day on the podcast about how I wrote my book in 2019, The Hitchhiker's Guide to Virtual Reality. And a lot of that book, it was talking about how teachers can use virtual reality and implement it in the classroom. You fast forward just to 3 years later, so the book came out in 2020. You fast forward to today, a lot of that stuff, it's not outdated, but it's old. A lot of the technology, the things that I were talking about are outdated because why? We've got web VR. So you can get into many of these platforms through your PC on your phone. You do not need that hardware. Now, will things maneuver and people have the hardware and everybody have their headsets, or will it be AR goggles, glasses, what have you? Will it be HoloLenses? We don't know. So I think it's important to think about culture shapes these things, technology shapes culture, and that things are moving and merging. The good thing about it is things are moving and merging and changing rapidly. So I don't believe it'll be something where it'll be 10 years or 20 years before we'll have an idea of how things will move forward with this technology. But I think that's important to think about how these things are integrated, and then to think about the whole global perspective and how all of this ties in together. So I had some really great conversations, wanted to come in and just talk about that a little bit, about how it all ties in together, and to think about that. Yeah, it was a great point about the metaverse, but there's steps to it. It's not just going to magically appear. It's going to be a process that we're going to move into. And if you ask me, do I think the blockchain, crypto, NFTs are going to be a part of 100%? It'll be a part of it. And we're going to see more of that. And I think it's important from an accounting perspective to understand the business of these things, because a lot of times, and I'm going to end on this, a lot of times we talk about how things are coming, but they're here, and they're business models, viable business models that are working with this type of technology. You've got companies that were a while ago that were started by Dr. Jeremy Balinson. They use it in sports and the NFL with quarterbacks, VR technology. You've got In Context Solution, which works with, it has clients like Walgreens and NextNow, VR advertising agency. So you already have the seeds for this, and it's only moving into a bigger and bigger space and coming more and more into that vision that we heard Mark Zuckerberg talk about. So of how things will look overall, and I think it takes time, but I think we're closer than we actually think we are to it. The other thing I was going to say, a lot of things are hidden in plain sight. So there's a lot of platforms and a lot of things that are coming up every day that can be used. And you also have to think about video games and video game platforms and how this ties in and how that framework and model ties into what the metaverse will look like. Really, I think a lot of, especially Fortnite, is a preview into what a lot of this will look like moving forward. So I want to get on and say that. Thank you so much. Make sure you send some feedback, reach out to me. Love to hear from you. Love to read the comments. And yeah, just keep coming in, keep going, and wish everybody the best. Thank you.